Hello defenders, it's day 972 of the terror Russian invasion of Ukraine. Traditional update and some thoughts. In the end, Russian aircraft went down in Sudan, an important Russian war criminal eliminated, North Koreans raised their flag in Donbass, South Koreans can be sent to Ukraine, and Chief of Pentagon visited Kyiv. Let's talk about the most important updates right now. So it is known that yesterday in Sudan, a Russian cargo aircraft has been shot down by the Russian allies not far from Darfur. The Russian embassy confirmed the facts of losing the airplane without any additional details, but who needs details? Nobody cares about the Russian cannon fodder anyways. In Bryansk, Chief of Staff of the Russian Air Squadron Dimitri Galinov has been found this weekend looking exactly like the good Russian war criminals should look like. Galinov was responsible for destroying a civilian house in Dnipro in January 2022 when 46 Ukrainian civilians died, as well as striking the M-Store mall in Kremenchuk in June 2022, killing 22 civilians. How exactly did this war criminal go to the other side? From what we know, he was improved using a heavy object, possibly a hammer. Earlier, two other criminals faced similar fate, a Russian propagandist and a notorious pro-Russian collaborationist. Apparently, it's much better for the Russian terrorists to face karma in the safe prison in The Hague than somewhere on the streets, because karma can be different. Lloyd Austin arrived to Kyiv and held a press conference together with the Ukrainian Minister of Defense, Rustem Umerov. What were they talking about? Mr. Umerov reported that $4 million American were invested so far in the production of munitions and drones. As you probably understand, it's not a huge sum of money, considering the current needs of the front lines. Mr. Austin spoke for approximately 30 minutes. He mentioned North Koreans and assured that the US will keep helping Ukraine defend even against the DPRK. He also called the Ukrainian drones the best in the world. I agree with Mr. Austin here. However, it's not only drones, it's people who build them and operate those drones. What I would really like to criticize in this speech is that once again we've heard the same narrative that the US is giving Ukraine everything necessary to survive and defend. Not a single word about helping Ukraine win. Apparently, Putin's info troops finally succeeded in deterring the top management of the strongest army in the world. Why did it happen? It's because 2.5 years after beginning of the Russian invasion, the US government still hasn't developed effective ways to counter the Russian informational warfare. How to make it possible? 4 simple things. Increase spendings for security agencies, create separate establishment dedicated to combating disinformation, and massively involve press and communications experts. Improve legislation. The criminals that spread Russian psyops must face responsibility. And finally, do it before it's too late. And the most positive thing from this visit was that besides the $400 million worth military aid package, the US are preparing to invest $800 million in the production of the Ukrainian drones in the nearest future. This one is absolutely huge. Thumbs up to the US. South Korea suggested to send its servicemen to Ukraine. They can advise in fighting the troops of DPRK, and in case North Koreans are captured as prisoners, our allies can serve as interpreters. Yesterday, the social media were massively reposting the photo of the North Korean flag noticed in the Donetsk Oblast, specifically not far from the village of Tsukurina. Does it mean that the DPRK troops were already deployed in the Donbass? I don't think so. The very fact that this flag was noticed there only indicates that it was a good but failed attempt of the Russian PSYOP. Specifically because this shitty rug was hanged there, we will see North Koreans on a different span of the front lines. What happens next after the demonstration of this flag that was possibly used to boost morale morale of the Russian troops or distract our attention. Only one thing happens. Next, we will see either eliminated or captured North Koreans. We already saw numerous eliminated mercenaries on the FPV footage. Mercenaries from Africa, Nepal, Colombia, and other countries. There were a lot of them. But this raises a really good question. Why does this huge, mighty pedo Russia even recruit mercenaries abroad? I mean, we thought that they had this never-ending resource of the cannon fodder. Well, apparently it's not really the case. Apparently, Russians indeed lack the manpower, and massively mobilizing soldiers in the terror Russia cannot be performed safely for the Putin's regime. I suggest that they calculated all pros and cons and concluded that it was just too risky. Otherwise, instead of bleeding for 2.5 years in Ukraine, they would have already mobilized several million men, and the war could be finished much faster. But again, it's not the case. Considering their own losses, which makes it approximately 1 good Russian per 2 square meters of Ukrainian land, Russians realize that capturing whole Ukraine will probably require sacrificing more men than Russians physically have at this point, and they still need much more men for the upcoming invasion of Europe. We're talking about occupation of the Baltic countries and Eastern Germany. What do we know about the North Korean mercenaries? It is estimated that up to 12,000 North Koreans will be deployed. As of the last week, only about a quarter of this number arrived to Russia. 12,000 men is approximately 1/3 of the monthly recruitment rate in the terrorist federation. It is approximately between 3 and 4 motorized Russian brigades that can be deployed to the crucial directions such as Kursk or Pokrovsk. Returning to the Russian calculations, they estimated that recruiting approximately 30,000 men per month allows the Russian invaders to replace their daily losses and slowly gain tactical advantage. The Ukrainian incursion of Kursk has brought Russians a new dilemma: where to get men to cover this direction. So they had to stretch forces from Kharkiv, Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Donetsk Oblast. For example, the very first unit destroyed by HIMARS on their way to defend Kursk was not a regular Russian unit, but a hybrid terrorist group known as Petnashka. They simply lacked reserves to defend Kursk. That's why those several new brigades will be extremely handy for the Russian terrorists to cover holes, and most probably they will be used as the reserves, while the regular Russian forces are busy dying for square meters of the Ukrainian soil. What else do we know about the North Koreans? We also have information that DPRK has provided the terrorist federation with the combat pilots. There's two things here. On one hand, they need to train personnel to operate new aircraft like those that were delivered by the Russians to the North Korea. But because it's a really suspicious coincidence, because the pilots were deployed to Russia simultaneously with the infantry, I suspect that they will also take part in combat operations against Ukraine. What sucks here is that such business trips to Russia can become a trend in the future, and it is possible that we will see not only Syrians or Iranians fighting in Ukraine, but also citizens of the countries of BRICS. In the meantime, we should stay alert and prepare for the upcoming videos of the North Koreans becoming good in Ukraine. Frankly, I have never thought I would ever see that. With that, my friends, I wish you all a beautiful day. Please share your thoughts in the commentaries. Also, don't forget to check my new story at the Vibes Ukraine. The link is in the description. I'm Operator Starsky. As always, be safe.